Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. I'm Claire, and I hope you're having a wonderful day, or afternoon, or evening, depending on when you're watching this. And you may notice this is my first video on here in quite a long time, and that's because one of my resolutions for 2026 is to make more consistent content, because I love doing it, it's so much fun, and I think that it would be a nice hobby to have on top of my reading and everything else, and also my schooling. So I decided we need to start off 2026 with a reading bang, and that's going to be trying to find my first 5-star read of 2026. The one book I've already read this year was Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke by Eric LaRocca, and I gave this a run-of-the-mill 3 stars, maybe more, 2.5, but I've decided that I'm trying to get into kind of horror more, but I don't know if horror is really my thing, because like I've watched horror movies last year, I read a couple of horror books, but nothing has been scaring me or like even really like giving horror vibes, so I'm not really sure what I'm doing wrong. So if you know any good horror books that you would recommend to me, please let me know down in the comments, and maybe I'll do like a video where I just try out horror books for like a whole week or something like that. So the book I'm kind of going to be reading in the background, because it's the longest one of them, is going to be Catabasis by R.F. Kuang. I am currently 76 pages into Catabasis, and I really love it. I'm loving the story. The vibes are great. I love R.F. Kuang's writing. It's just, like I said, this is such a long book. It's almost 600 pages, and I want to make sure that I'm at least, you know, it's not just going to end up being that this was like my 1 5-star for the book. So I've decided to read a couple of others just to also offset that. My first pick for the book I'm going to read to hopefully find my first 5-star of 2026 is going to be Strange Pictures by Uketsu. Now, I actually read Strange Houses, which is on my 26 and 2026, on Christmas Eve, because my boyfriend got it for me, and I read it in one sitting. I really enjoyed it. It was like a 3.5 stars. Again, another horror that just really wasn't all that scary to me. So I'm hoping that maybe Strange Pictures will change that. I've heard people say that they think Strange Pictures is better than Strange Houses. So I'm pretty excited to try this one out. So let's get some reading going on and try to find my first 5-star. Fun fact about me, I get cold basically all the time. So my grandma got me this heated blanket that has armholes and leg holes, and it's absolutely wonderful, and I love it very much. So I think this is the perfect place to do my reading at while I start up Strange Pictures. So let's get into it, shall we? One second, I'm gonna go grab my big headphones because I want to like fully immerse myself. So I'm gonna go grab my headphones. I will say I'm also a girl who I love to listen to music that's like related to the book I'm reading. So what I'm gonna do is every time I read a book, or at least try to, post the corresponding playlist I'm listening to for that book while I'm reading. So if you're trying to read the same book as me, or you want a good playlist, you can do that. I don't make my own unless I just can't find one for the book I'm listening to, but for now at least I'm using one that I have found. So we're gonna do that. Alrighty, so I just finished up chapter 2, which was page 105. So we're making pretty good progress. Sorry, my dog is deciding to growl at horses on the TV. That one was really good. That one was really good. There were good twists that I wasn't expecting. Second chapter really went up from the first chapter, in my personal opinion. I'm gonna keep going. I'm actually only at about an hour of reading, and I'm probably about halfway. This These are just super quick reads. I know that Strange Houses was also a super quick read, so I kind of assumed this was going to be a really fast read as well. So this one is the art teacher's final drawing. So I'm excited to see about this one. And I kind of think after I finish reading this, I might look up child psychology and drawings because they're talking a lot about it in this book. And I just want to see if like what they're saying is actually true or if it's just kind of like what they're making up for the book. But yeah, let's jump into chapter 3. And once again, I'll update you once I finish chapter 3. Alrighty, so this book honestly just keeps getting better and better. I don't think it's gonna be a 5-star. I'm not feeling 5-star, but I'm loving it a lot more than Strange Houses, and the way pieces are coming together is so satisfying and interesting and fun. I'm at page 178. I'm on to the final chapter, The Bird Safe in the Tree, which is the one that we start the book off with talking about. This one's been really fun. I've really enjoyed this. Again, I'm not super scared. The second story did scare me, I will admit, but this third one, and first and third really haven't scared me that much. So, yeah, we're gonna finish off this guy. We're gonna finish it off with The Bird Safe in the Tree and then we will come back and do a final recap for the first book of trying to find my first 5-star read. All right, so I have officially finished Strange Pictures. It turned out really good. I'm gonna give it 4 stars right now. I'm gonna give it 4 stars. Like I said, not a 5-star, but I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more, I think, than Strange Houses. The story felt a lot more cohesive. I enjoyed the way the pieces came together more than Strange Houses. I also think that I'm still gonna stick with my thing I was saying, I believe, about the first or second story, that I wish that there may have been a bit more struggle with putting pieces together, because I feel like the people that are putting together the pieces of this story, the other characters are just so incredibly intelligent in everything they do, and sometimes it gets a little unbelievable, but the story was fun to follow. I really liked the characters that we met. I liked the fact that everyone tied together at the end. It was good. It was very good, and I would definitely recommend this one for sure. So not my first 5-star, but a very strong 4-star for the first book of this little series. As you may be able to tell, it's a little bit later. I've put on my PJs and I've decided I'm been in a really ready mood today, which is always nice, especially for this challenge in particular. And so the next book I'm gonna pick up is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. I have been wanting to pick this book up. I bought it while I was in New York in October, and I just never picked it up when I originally bought it. But now I want to see the movie so bad, just because I really want to see the movie, but also because in law school I'm doing a literature and the law class, and it's mostly it's Shakespeare that we're reading. We're not reading Hamlet, but I just wanted to get myself into my little Shakespeare brain, because if you don't know, fun fact about me, my minor is in medieval and Renaissance studies. And so I love Shakespeare. I love that era of time. So I'm super excited to get into this guy. So this is going to be the next book I pick up. The next book that I feel has a pretty good shot at being a 5-star. So let's get into Hamnet. have officially hit 50 pages to technically, I guess, chapter 3. There's no actual like chapters, but this one starts like a new chapter. I am loving this book. I love the writing style. It's so expressive and beautiful, and like this part. She remembered everything except where she had gone, why she had left. And it's just so beautiful. We've gotten to know a lot about Agnes, who is our main character, and I know that I've read that they don't actually name Shakespeare in the book. He doesn't actually like say his name. It's always like Hamnet's dad or Agnes's husband, and that's how he's kind of explained. So we've had Agnes and William, I don't know what to call him, I guess Shakespeare. So we've had Agnes and Shakespeare meeting, and at the beginning we had a little bit about Hamnet and his sisters in the first chapter, and then in the second chapter we really learned about Agnes and Shakespeare when they first met, and a little bit about Agnes's childhood. And now we're about to go back to Hamnet at the beginning of chapter 3, because right now he's panicking a little bit. I'm not going to say why. You learn about it pretty early on, but he's panicking, and nobody's around to help, essentially, is where we're at right now. And so, yeah, I'm going to keep on reading. This will probably be my last update tonight. I'm getting low-key sleepy, and so I'm probably just going to keep reading until I'm, like, officially tired, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to remember anything, and then I will update you guys in the morning after I get ready and stuff, and we talk about how far I got in and all that fun stuff. So I will keep you guys updated. So
it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Why are all of you outside of your home or your work?
We're going. So we've had a long day. We had to go pick up my textbooks, and I had to go shopping around for Shakespeare books because one of my classes I needed Shakespeare for, and we had to go to like 5 different places for it. So I have not read any today. You got something you want to say?
I will do that later.
I will do that later. Now we're gonna get Dairy Queen. Bye. So it is currently around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm finally sitting down to keep back up with Hamnet. I'm loving this book. I just went on a long expedition for Shakespeare books, so it almost feels appropriate that I'm coming back and just reading more Shakespeare stuff. So it's a really nice day outside, actually, so I decided to come sit outside for a little bit. How long will this last? Who freaking knows? I might get cold and go back inside or whatever, but let's do some reading, shall we? Good morning. So it's early. It's like 8:30, and I'm actually headed out because I have a nail appointment at 9. So I'm gonna go get my nails done, finally, get this guy fixed. But obviously I'm gonna be taking Hamnet with me. Still obsessed with this book. It's so good. I'm loving it so much. I love the writing style. It's so beautiful and flowery, but I don't think it's like overpoweringly flowery. But yeah, let's go get in the car, head to go get my nails done, and keep reading. Alrighty, so it is obviously later in the day. I've changed and I've gotten my nails done. Boom. They're green, very pretty. Still reading Miss Hamnet, getting her done with. I have lunch plans and I have dinner plans, so gonna try to facilitate a little bit of reading time in between that. I'm gonna do a little bit more reading on Hamnet. Still really loving it. Still have nothing but great things to say about it. So let's just keep on reading. Probably the worst song for what is happening in the story right now is playing. And this is a good playlist that I found. But dang. I'm not a huge annotator, but when I hear a line I really like, I make sure to underline it so I can keep it forever. Good morning. Obviously I'm in my car. I had to bring my grandma to an appointment. And so I obviously still have Hamnet with me. Let me grab it. Here she is. I ended off last night at 182. So we're getting close to the end here. I feel what's coming and I'm not happy about it. And I don't think that Maggie O'Farrell should have done this to me, but that's okay. I'm living. I knew what was coming, but that doesn't mean I have to accept it. So I'm gonna do some reading and then I don't know what the rest of the day is gonna look like. So you've kind of been getting a little bit of slice of life, so you're welcome as this video has gone on. So let's keep reading some Hamnet. So right now it's talking about letters and how letters were like sent around, and oh my gosh, I would have hated this. Because it's like, so this person gives the letter to this person, then this person has to give it to this person, and then this person gives it to this person, and the person they were supposed to actually give the letter to is now here. So now we have to get this person to take it here. Like it's a whole process, and I would literally die if I was trying to get a note to someone like urgently, because I don't think it would happen as urgently as it needs to happen. And this is why I say always bring a pen with you, because I found a quote I want to keep. That's my dark boy one. Is my black one in here, or did I had it out at a restaurant, and I think I might have accidentally left my good black pen, but that's one of my good black pens. That's okay though. I have about 17 million, so I don't think it'll really affect me that much at the end of the day. Do I have a plain black though? I do have a plain black pen just in my car with me. Perfect. Need to keep a quote. Keep going. I have officially finished part 1 of Hamnet, and we've got this much left for part 2. I knew what was happening, and yet I'm still absolutely devastated. It's just, Maggie O'Farrell has such a beautiful way with words, and the way that she describes things around her, like this. I love this line here. Succumbs to sudden fever. Cool. So that you do know that going in, but it says, anyone Eliza's thinking who describes dying as slipping away or peaceful has never witnessed it happen. Death is violent. Death is a struggle. The body clings to life as ivy to a wall and will not easily let go, will not surrender its grip without a fight. Oh gosh, I'm devastated. Like, I really don't have much to say other than I'm devastated by this. So, gonna keep going. Just got a little bit left, and I guess now we're in the aftermath, if you pick up what I'm putting down, and we're gonna see what happens next. It is time, girls and squirrels. I put on my book club sweatshirt that I got. It is time to finish out Miss Hamnet. I don't have that much left. I'm not like 90%. That's what I got left. So we're gonna get her done. I'm so excited. I'm not so excited to be done with it because I'm like excited to be done with it. I'm just so excited to see what happens because like the big things already happened. So I'm excited to see where it goes from here. So let's jump in and finish out Hamnet. So I finished. Oh my gosh, wow. 5 stars. 100% 5 stars. That was incredible. Oh my gosh. Hi Willow. My cat has come to comfort me. The ending. Oh my gosh. The last 10 pages. Holy cow. I'm gonna go calm down a little bit and then I'll come back with final thoughts, like actual final thoughts. So yeah, let me go cry it out and then we'll come back and talk. All right, so let's talk about my girl Hamnet. This was a gorgeous book. I loved this story so much. Maggie O'Farrell's prose is so beautiful and I feel like it's so intentional but also flowery and special. I know that a lot of people say like sometimes it feels like flowery language overcompensates for a lack of skill in the writing or trying to make the book feel important, but this one to me really didn't feel that way. This felt like very intentional wording, very intentional phrases that were being used. I wrote down or I underlined quite a few passages or places that I really loved. Like this: Agnes watches the child drop from her younger daughter as a cloak from a shoulder. Like that's just her describing her daughter growing up, her daughter becoming a young adult instead of being a kid. And it's such a beautiful way to do that. And it also, I think, fits with Agnes as a character because Agnes has this bigger than life personality, this very beautiful outlook on the world and the way that things are. And I truly do, it fits so well, in my opinion, with this story. And I also love that we have an exploration of grief, but also grief in many different forms. Even though we don't ever get the father or the husband's perspective, who is Shakespeare in this case, even though some names have been changed. There's a little author's note that I read in the back that talks about some names being changed, different little bits, like the fact that we don't actually know what Hamnet died of. The actual person Hamnet, we don't know what he died of. But we do get a Shakespeare POV kind of, but we don't stay with him very long. And like I said, he's never actually named. He's always just the Agnes's husband or the father of Susanna or something like that throughout the book. And I think that really lended itself to this being a story about Agnes and her children, not just being another retelling of the life of Shakespeare, because we've had those before. I love the way it was told. It was told in a way where, like, one chapter we were with them kind of in the present timeline, which is where Hamnet is coming down with pestilence the plague as we know it now. And we're following the progression of that happening in one storyline, and then the next we're learning about Agnes and Shakespeare meeting and the life that Agnes had before she knew Shakespeare, and their life as their newlyweds and having children and so on and so forth. And I think that that was a really beautiful way to show the change of Agnes throughout her life, because we see Agnes in very different places throughout her life, where it does feel like she kind of fundamentally changes as a person. And I almost wonder if this is supposed to be a story that's kind of like, look at how this woman lost herself in becoming the wife of a man or whatever. I don't know if that's really what Maggie O'Farrell was trying to say, but I do feel like we watch her fundamentally change after she is married to Shakespeare. And also, I find it quite interesting that in this book, I feel like Shakespeare is like this very weird character where it's like, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to like him or like really hate him, because he leaves his family for long periods of time, different things like that, which he did. That's historically accurate. He would go to London and he would put on his shows and write his plays while his family was back in Stratford. And then he would like come back and visit for a while and then go back and send money and things like that, which happens in this book. And it's like, because in the flashback scenes that we were shown when they're first getting together, he seems to be a very loving partner to Agnes, and in the situation that they are put into very early on in their relationship, he seems very supportive. And then we see this weird kind of flip in him, which is, I guess, maybe supposed to kind of signify when he starts writing and when he decides he's going to be a playwright instead of doing the gloving business like his father. But overall, I really love this book, and it's one that I don't think is going to leave me soon at all. I have already texted my friends and it's like, okay, who wants to go see the Hamnet movie with me? Because I need to see it. I just want to see what they did. I've heard it's not as good. I've heard the movie's not as good as the book, but when is it really? I'm just interested to see Paul Mescal and Jessie Buckley playing these characters and to see how they do it. I'm also really interested because we spend a lot of time with the children. Susanna, let me think, can I do it? Susanna, Judith, and Hamnet, and then also Eliza as well, who is Shakespeare's little sister. We spend a lot of time with them in the book, and I'm very interested to see how much of them kind of interacting is kept in like it was in the book versus filling more space with Shakespeare and Agnes as like a couple and as husband and wife. So hopefully we're gonna go tomorrow. Me and Lexi, we're talking about going tomorrow. So I'm super excited about that.
And before we get to this next part, I just want to say I'm about to have some relatively big spoilers for the Hamnet movie. So if you've not seen the Hamnet movie, please go watch it and then come back and you can listen to my thoughts and feelings. Or if you don't care that much, you can just keep listening.
Alright, so to end off this vlog for you guys, I was going to read a third book, but I realized that I was almost at like 30 minutes already, and I was like, that's kind of long. So just to end it off, I'm going to give you guys a review of the Hamnet movie, and oh my goodness, was this movie gorgeous. Well, I went into it with a lot of people telling me I've heard it's not as good as the book, and while I did give the movie a 4.5, while I gave the book an obvious 5, the reason I did that is simply because there were certain pieces that I was like, I didn't know how I felt about them. One of the biggest pieces being the kind of further inclusion of Shakespeare as a character. And I mean, I get it. Shakespeare is a character in Hamnet. Obviously, we have to have Shakespeare for this story to work. But I loved how in the book he was a secondary character to Agnes and the children. and he didn't, I mean, I've talked about it like 37 times already but in this video, but he doesn't have a name. We just know that he does something in the theater in London, and you kind of put the pieces together, unless you just know like what the book is about, obviously. But we are in the movie. I honestly believe that the book and the movie are trying to do two separate things. And what I mean by that is I feel like the book itself is trying to be more about Anus as a woman, and the kind of sometimes where there's kind of this loss of personal identity when you become part of a pair, especially a husband and wife. Because I feel like we do see Anus kind of losing herself throughout the book. And obviously we have a lot of grief, and how that grief can change you again fundamentally as a human. But in the movie, we get a lot more Shakespeare by himself, a lot more moments alone with Shakespeare as a character. And I think that's because the movie wants to focus more on the grieving side, the loss, and how grief affects people differently and everything like that. One thing that I was so sad to lose is the business that Anus runs out of the house, which is her medicine business, her herb business. I loved that. I thought it was so fun. And her teaching the girls and them kind of taking over the business while Anus was grieving. I loved that in the book. But I will say that in the movie, like, I don't know why they took it out of the movie. I don't know if maybe they're like, oh, it's not as important. But I think it would have worked really well because they were kind of showing the kids growing up and Susanna becoming an adult and Judith, and we don't get as much as Judith, but seeing Susanna starting to grow into an older, a young adult, a woman, a lady, if you will. And I feel like that was such a great way to show that, was the fact that she was kind of being taught the family business. First off, I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. First off, I think I went into this movie a fan of Paul Mescal. I really enjoy his work. I think he's a great actor. But I came out of this movie a huge Jessie Buckley fan. She was sensational as Anus. Just every moment was so guttural, and each moment just felt so believable and lived in. And I had never seen any of Jessie Buckley's work before, but oh my gosh, was she just the standout to me in this movie. Followed very closely by Jacoby Jupe, who plays Hamnet, the titular role. This boy, he's 12 years old, and he was so good in this movie. I did not, fun fact, I did not cry at Hamnet's death in the book. I think maybe just because I knew it was coming, so it didn't affect me as deeply as it could have. But the way that Jacoby acted it, and Jessie acted it, and the rest of the actresses around them acted it, it wrecked me. I was a wreck during the death scene. And then I finally got myself together, and then of course Anus and Bartholomew had to go to watch Hamlet, and I was gone. I just, tears in my eyes, walk away. See y'all later. Y'all have a good day. But I also loved the fact that, I don't know, this is a fun little piece of info if you don't know this, but the person who plays Hamlet in the production that we watch at the end of Hamnet in the movie is actually Jacoby Jupe's older brother Noah. And apparently that wasn't the original plan. There was an actor who had to step out last minute, and Noah came in and filled the role. And I think that just worked so well for it, because it was like, oh my gosh, here's literally my son as an older man, as an adult. And getting to see, and they had this moment in the movie that I don't remember from the book, where they are talking after Shakespeare's just left to go back to London, and Agnes asks Hamnet, you know, what do you see yourself doing in the future? Like, what do you believe? Because he's wanting her to read his palm, the little like finger thing she does. And he says that he wants to be in London with his dad doing plays. And she asks, you know, who are you going to be? What are you going to do? And he says he's going to be one of the players, and he is going to be in sword fights and win the sword fights. And she got to see that. She got to see her son, a lead player, winning a sword fight, because that happens in Hamlet. And it was shot so wonderfully. And I loved the fact that, because obviously I get why we didn't do it in the book, why we didn't have 10 minutes of Hamlet in the end of the book, because that would make absolutely no sense. But for the movie, I loved the choice to have a lot of scenes of Hamlet in the ending, because I think that it makes you sit in that moment with Anus, seeing her son and Shakespeare's grief, because that's what Hamlet was, at least in this version of the story. Hamlet was Shakespeare's way of getting over, of grieving over Hamnet. This is what he did. You know, for Anus, it was very, very guttural. It was the staying in home and laying in bed and losing her interest and her hobbies and her sense of living. And we see that play out for Anus, but we never really get to see that done for Shakespeare in the book, because like I said, we don't focus on Shakespeare as heavily as we do in the movie. But having this moment of where we get to watch the show, the thing that he's worked on for 2 years, ever since his son's death, and we get to watch him watching it, and we get to watch Anus watching it, and the moments of him playing the king, the dead king, and hugging on Hamlet, the actor who's playing Hamlet, like, it just felt it was so full circle in that moment. And like the hands reaching out at the end was so beautiful, and it was almost like, to me in that moment, and in the end of the book for me too, it really does feel like it's kind of Anus allowing herself to let go of the grief that she had been holding and the memory of Hamnet, and allowing herself to see him, and to see him realized as a person. And, you know, maybe he would have turned out completely different. We obviously can never know that, but this version of him that he so desperately wanted to be, that Hamnet did, and we get to see that through this production and through the show that her husband put together. And I don't know, it worked so incredibly well for me, the movie did. I loved the movie. I said to my friends, it's like, it was a great movie. It was a good adaptation, but it was a great movie, and it did what it wanted to do. And I think that's really all you can ask from a film production, is like, it does what it needs to do, and it does what it wants to do. And Chloe Zhao just hit it so on the nail, with everything. And one of the things I really loved, and this is kind of like, I'm gonna be nerdy here for a second for you, but I love the camera angles from the movie, because it feels like we're watching a play. We're far back from it. It's a very stagnant angle. Usually has both of the actors in frame who are talking. And like I said, we're far away. So it's like we're watching these people on a stage. We're watching a production. We're watching a show. And of course there are some scenes where we are more close up with the people. We come into these moments that are more intimate, these more almost monologue soliloquy moments like we would see in a play. But it was like, you know, there was a lot of far away long shots that don't move much. And I think that was so effective, especially in a play or something about Shakespeare. It just worked so incredibly well for me. So that is the end of our video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm looking forward to making more and more. I already have some ideas for some other videos I want to make, and I'm so excited to get back into it. So I hope you guys will stick around and maybe, you know, give this a little like if you liked it. If you agree with me that Hamnet is a 5-star book, then go, you know, leave a comment, let me know. Let me know your first 5-star read of 2026. I would absolutely love to know because it could be some recommendations for me. And also, if you aren't already subscribed, you should totally subscribe to my channel. Like I said, I'm not posting, I don't know how frequently I will be posting, so I won't be flooding your subscription box with new videos. But if you do like my vibe and you want to come along, then you should definitely subscribe because who knows when I'll update next. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye!